For several months, astronomers assured us that the three-eyed Atlas was nothing more than a spectacular flyby, a harmless interstellar visitor that would glide past Mars and vanish into the vastness of space. But space does nothing without reason. And James Webb, our most advanced instrument in the abyss, has just provided data that turned the entire history upside down. The numbers have changed. The trajectory has shifted. And now, for the first time, scientists are whispering what no one wanted to hear. Three-Eye Atlas may collide with Mars. Collide. But this is not just about the comet. It is about precise maneuvers, hourly gas impulses, and an object that behaves not like a stone, but more like a spacecraft. The deeper we delve into the data, the clearer it becomes. The Three-Eye Atlas does not drift. He steers his course, adjusts it, aims, and the red planet is right in his path. Whatever it is not going to leave our solar system. Let's figure it out. When the Three-Eyed Atlas was first spotted on July 1st, it looked like any other interstellar intruder. A rapidly moving silhouette with a bright coma, flying at an unprecedented speed of nearly 87 kilometers per second relative to the sun, covering the distance from Earth to the Moon in under 80 minutes. But what astonished scientists was not the speed. This was his behavior. Comets usually slow down, break apart, or stabilize as they approach the inner system. But the Three-Eyed Atlas began to accelerate, subtly yet consistently. And even more alarmingly, its trajectory started to contract. Slight course corrections became noticeable, and the coma of the object, its surrounding gas and dust halo, doubled in brightness within weeks. Spectral analysis revealed sharp spikes of ultraviolet energy and carbon dioxide emissions at rates never before observed in any comet. He behaved not like a drifting piece of frozen stone, but rather like a guided missile. And it was then that Webb's deep field sensors detected something that changed everything. Rhythmic pulses emanating from the tail, not chaotic jets arising from sunlight melting the ice. Purposeful thrusts at perfect 17-minute intervals, a pattern, a signal, a maneuver. While Webb, Gemini South, and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory continued tracking the object, the numbers began to tell a terrifying story. What was once considered a close pass has become something much more dangerous. The revised impact distance is now just 1.95 million kilometers from Mars, a negligible distance on a cosmic scale. And what's worse, simulations showed that even an added speed of 10 kilometers per second, a small fraction of the already measured gas impulses, could be enough to change its trajectory to a direct collision. Think about it. Just a push, a barely audible impulse, and Mars becomes the epicenter. This degree of control is not found in natural bodies, as if three Atlas eyes use their own emissions as microthrusters, adjusting their approach like a spacecraft would. Even more alarming is that these jolts perfectly align with the planet's orbital plane. Scientists are no longer just tracking the object, they are observing how it aims, and the window for impact is narrowing. From September 19th to 30th, any sudden manifestation could become the one that leads to catastrophe. Now, not only enthusiasts of theories and fans of science fiction are alarmed. Harvard University astronomer Avi Loeb and his team published a bold article. They speculate that three Atlas IIs could be an artificially created probe. The data supports their hypothesis. Radar signals from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and the Goldstone antenna returned metallic echo signals instead of the soft water signatures typical of comets. NASA's internal sources describe radar reflections as something we have never encountered, accompanied by green needle-like streams visible in high-exposure images, three glowing beams converging towards Mars and pulsing in unison with the eruptions. The picture becomes indisputable. This object behaves unnaturally. Loeb hypothesizes a scenario where three AI drones could deliberately target Mars for a collision, or, worse, to deliver something. Probes, signals, disputes, whatever it is, it's not a coincidence. Mars approaches with surgical precision, and humanity watches an operation it barely understands. What will happen if it strikes? The answer is almost incomprehensible. With a mass estimated at 10 billion tons and a speed of 57 kilometers per second relative to Mars, the collision will release more than 2 million megatons of energy, thousands of times more powerful than the strongest nuclear explosion in Earth's history. The crater will be 60 kilometers wide and 5 deep, scattering debris across Mars's orbit, some of which may be ejected into interplanetary space, meaning that some could eventually reach Earth. But the consequences go far beyond simple stones and dust. Mars hosts dozens of scientific objects, rovers, orbiters, experiments searching for life, climate records spanning decades. The impact will not just destroy the machines. It will erase decades of research, blind communication arrays, and possibly trigger pollution events for which we are completely unprepared. The European Space Agency, Roscosmos, the China National Space Administration, and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency have begun discussions on planetary protection, not against an alien fleet, but against an object that behaves too much like a vehicle. For many years, scientists have speculated that there was once life on Mars, and that it may still be hidden deep beneath its rusty surface. Underground lakes, dormant microorganisms, ancient ecosystems locked under permafrost. This is one of the main reasons we sent so many rovers, orbiters, and landers. But if the 3 AI Atlas strike, all of this will become a biological mystery. Extreme heat upon impact will not only vaporize the surface, but also crack deeper layers of the Martian crust, exposing reservoirs we have never reached. If the 3-eyed Atlas contains organic molecules or, worse, synthetic biology embedded in its emissions, the merging of an Earth-independent evolutionary process with Martian biology could lead to planetary-level genetic contamination. Some biologists call it reverse panspermia. Not life spreading from Mars to Earth, but life sown on Mars. This raises a terrible question. What if the goal was never destruction? What if the object is a delivery system, and Mars is an incubator? When the 3-eyed Atlas approached Mars at maximum distance, the James Webb Telescope captured the object for a final deep scan. The results were classified for 48 hours before part of the data was published. But leaks from the Webb project tell a much darker story. Nurse Beck and Miari's equipment detected traces of synthetic polymers, molecules resembling earthly plastics, and carbon nanotubes mixed with natural gases. These are not structures formed in a vacuum or during the heating of comets. They are engineered materials. Webb's spectrographs also recorded constant isotopic anomalies, particularly in carbon and hydrogen, that do not match any known objects in the solar system. In short, the 3-eyed Atlas contains things that should not exist in space, and all of it is moving straight towards a planet that may still be alive. Webb's data was privately shared with the largest space agencies. Emergency working groups were created, not because we could stop it, but because we had no time to figure out what it really was. As panic escalated, NASA took an unexpected step. They went silent. Regular press releases ceased. Telemetry data from Perseverance and Tianwen-1 showed gaps. Questions about potential collision scenarios were redirected. Something changed. Then, in a classified transmission, later leaked by an insider, the phrase appeared, "Collision protocol initiated." What does it mean? No one knows for sure, but insiders claim that a series of encrypted signals were sent from Earth to all active Martian probes. This is curious, considering that there is no known method to deflect or intercept the 3-eyed Atlas. Unless, of course, the purpose of these signals is not to protect Mars, but to prepare it. If the 3-eyed Atlas is an intelligent system, even semi-autonomous, it can respond to energy signatures, orbital beacons, or encoded impulses. And if the Earth has just activated these systems, we could confirm that we are listening. Worse still, we could confirm that we are reacting, and any consciousness behind this object, if it exists, now knows that we are aware. A team of cryptographers from the CD Institute did something no one had considered. They took the current trajectory, time of closest approach, speed, and gravitational vectors, data known to every astronomer on Earth, and translated it into binary code. Then they applied standard compression algorithms used in interstellar communication. What emerged was not just random data. It was a structured, repeating signal. It contained a sequence of numerical intervals corresponding to atomic numbers: 6, 8, 14, 26, carbon, oxygen, silicon, iron. These elements are the building blocks of both life and machines, but sequences of prime numbers and time intervals corresponding to recursive message protocols slipped between them. In other words, the entire trajectory of the object called 3 Eyes may turn out to be a moving signal, a message that is not transmitted by radio, but expressed through behavior, timing, and presence. This means we are witnessing not just the movement towards Mars, but a communicative event where the window of influence itself is part of the message. If the object collides with the planet, it will be one outcome. If it misses, it will be another. In any case, the answer is already written in the stars. As the predicted trajectory of the 3 Eyes narrowed, planetary scientists noticed a troubling coincidence. The updated trajectory crossed a narrow corridor that passed directly above the Elysium Plain, a geologically young area of Mars, known for its unusually symmetrical surface features. Satellite images revealed concentric ridges, spiral flows, and formations that strangely resembled Fibonacci sequences. These were not new formations, but what caught attention was that the exact descent vector of the three eyes coincided with the central depression, a perfectly round basin less than 3.5 kilometers wide. No known signs of impact, no volcanic remnants. But right in the center of this basin was a deposit of crystals and silicates with refractive properties found nowhere else on Mars. Under the influence of solar radiation, they emitted short bursts of infrared light at regular intervals. Most scientists dismissed this as a geological curiosity, but now they wonder, was it a pool of random features or a beacon, a meeting place? And if so, who set these coordinates? When the James Webb Telescope tracked tri-gaze from an alternative monitoring point, an unexpected anomaly was observed. Behind the main body of the object, not physically attached but following at a constant distance of 0.07 astronomical units, there was a secondary shadow. It was not a field of debris, nor gas, but something darker. The radar could not detect it. The infrared sensors could not warm it, but the photometric analysis showed a sharp drop in light that moved in perfect unison with the three eyes, as if attached to it by some invisible force. This shadow maintained a precise distance, unaffected by gravity or acceleration, and when visualized in polar coordinates, it formed a perfect orbital trajectory. Something followed the three eyes, not accompanying, not chasing, but duplicating. Speculations ignited. Was it a secondary object, a drone, a gravitational echo, or something entirely different? A field, a memory, a protocol? For the first time, researchers began to consider the idea that the three eyes might not be the main actor in this cosmic event, but merely a vessel for something more elusive. With the impending date of impact, an even more disturbing picture emerged. When the scientists examined the entire trajectory of the object known as the three eyes of the Atlas and its closest approaches to the Sun, Earth, and Mars, they discovered that each alignment coincided with the dates of astronomical resonance, synchronization, key orbital harmonics long studied by ancient civilizations. September the 23rd, October 5th, November 11th. These dates coincide not only with seasonal equinoxes and transits, but also with rare gravitational synchronizations that occur every 54 years. In fact, the last time all three inner planets were in such orbital positions was during the comet's passage in 1908, when the Tunguska event occurred. This synchronicity caused a real storm in the scientific community. How could it happen that a random interstellar object appears at such astronomically significant moments? If it is not coincidence, if it adjusts itself to time as if following clocks not made by human hands. It was not a heavenly coincidence. It was a pattern, and patterns in the cosmos are always signs of design. One important discovery moved the discussion into an area previously considered taboo in mainstream science: consciousness in motion. A team of neurocosmologists from Princeton, studying patterns of neural synchronization in deep, meditative states, noticed something unusual. When the experiment participants were exposed to the pulsing frequencies emitted by the light curve of the three eyes of the Atlas, especially during the 17-minute intervals of gas emissions, their brain activity synchronized not just in one subject, but in several individuals, isolated in different rooms, unaware of each other. This is not just resonance, it's neurological synchronization, as if the signal was not only mechanical, but also cognitive. If it can affect us from millions of kilometers away, what does that say about its origin? Is it possible that the three eyes of the Atlas are not just a stone and not a spaceship, but a thought moving through the universe, like a seed of awareness, a message that is felt rather than read, something that activates upon perception, something that becomes part of you at the moment of understanding it? If this is true, then the impact on Mars, whether physical or not, may just be a symptom. The main event is perhaps already happening within us. As fears about potential effects grew, a quiet group of archaeoastronomers began cross-referencing the trajectory of the three-eyed Atlas with ancient celestial maps, records from not only Western observatories, but also Sumerian, Mayan, and Tibetan cosmological scrolls. What they discovered was unbelievable. A pattern known as the fire dragon appeared in various cultures, describing a celestial body descending from the outer darkness, warping uncomfortably close to the sun, and heading towards the red god, Mars. This pattern repeated in steles, carvings, and even cave engravings, each depicting the same winding path. However, one set stood out particularly: a pre-Incan calendar stone from Tiwanaku, showing 4 diverging lines from Mars after the comet's descent. When processing data using photogrammetry, the lines matched the projected pattern of debris that could arise from a strike on Mars. What does this mean? It indicates that someone foresaw this not in the current century, but thousands of years ago. This suggests that the 3 Atlas satellites are not just a historical object, but something more. Perhaps history repeats itself, and Mars may not be the target, but a trigger. Then something completely unexpected happened. The ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, which had been in energy-saving mode for several days, detected a spike in xenon isotopes in the upper layers of the Martian atmosphere. At first, scientists assumed it was solar radiation, but the composition was incorrect. It was not coming from above, but rising from below. More specifically, from deep cracks near Cerberus Fossae, one of the most geologically unstable regions on Mars. Seismic activity increased, subsurface temperatures rose by 3 degrees Kelvin, and in a twist that left the scientific community baffled, magnetometers detected a weak but structured magnetic pulse that repeated every 17 minutes. It was the same time frame as the gas emissions of 3 Atlas. The question was not whether the object would strike, but whether Mars was ready for it, as if the planet was not under threat, but awakening. Something within the crust, dormant for millennia, had just begun to stir. With each passing hour, the idea of the strike became less a physical event and more a temporal one. Webb's team noticed that the light fluctuations from the 3I Atlas no longer matched the comet's rotation. Instead, they followed a recursive sequence with 7 pulses, a pause, 3 pulses, a pause, 13 pulses, and so on. These numbers were not random. When they were stacked on top of each other, they created a spiral based on Fibonacci numbers, often associated with organic growth, memory encoding, and even the spiraling structure of human DNA. Mathematicians and cryptographers joined forces to decipher this and arrived at a troubling hypothesis. 3 atlases transmit time, not in seconds or hours, but in cycles, epochs. The object does not merely approach, it synchronizes. It turned out that the countdown is not the moment of impact. This is resonance, a fusion of energy, orbits, and consciousness. And if this countdown ends, it may lead not to an explosion, but to a shift. A shift in perception, or perhaps even a change in the very structure of reality as we know it. In the last 72 hours before the expected strike, a signal was detected. Low frequency, infrasonic, inaudible to the human ear, but undeniable in its form. It did not come from space. It did not even reflect off Mars.